Hey there, Jared here, and welcome to the PGeek podcast. Now, it's been a little while between our last episode. I know we've said that a few times between episodes, and it just, the cadence of these releases has changed over time. But one thing that's pretty clear at the moment is that the pace of kind of opportunities, the pace of things that you can do with tech in the classroom has just grown. And that has meant that us at Connected PE and the PEgeek.com have been able to just produce more than we've ever done before. And, that's exciting. It kind of also gets me jazzed up to come on and talk about these things. And the podcast continues to be a place that people tune in. So be on the lookout for more episodes as the things arrive that make sense in that kind of audio format. Now, in this first episode, I'm going to be diving into some questions that I've seen recently online, and these aren't new questions. They aren't things that, I've never seen. And there's versions of these that I've kind of been in myself over the years. And it's going to be centered around the demonstration of the PE Games app. And it's one of our earliest apps. And I thought, what better way to kind of point out how it works than to go online, find some questions from teachers, and kind of put it to the test. And if you're watching along the video, you can, see that screen recording kind of thing happening. And if you're listening along, then I'll just be narrating as it goes on and kind of give you the context of what it is that we're doing. So the PE Games app is one of the earliest, as I alluded to. It is a collection of PE games. There's like 250 in there. But the biggest part of the app change in like the last 3-4 years is the AI tools that are part of it. Now, the recent builds that are out there in the store that are very popular allow you to put in a games context. So your class context, PE teacher context, whatever that happens to be. And you can generate a game that matches that particular criteria. So, you've got 10 students, you've got these pieces of equipment, and, you've got this space, and you wanted to do basketball game. Like, what could you do? And you'll get an activity generator for you. But I thought, let's put it to the test. Let's go in and find some questions from different forums and online spaces and use the app and see what comes up and give you a bit of a feel for how it works. So this very first question is kind of along the line of, oh no, they stole my gym. And in the question that I read, it was on like a Facebook group. It was a teacher was walking into their gym space. They've got year 5 students with them. They had 30 year 5 students, so 10 to 11 years old. And they've just realized that the space was now being converted into an assembly and they wouldn't have it available. And because the schools are busy places, for some reason, this didn't end up being communicated prior. And now that teacher is left with a classroom space nearby. And the plan that they had for kind of invasion games is now needing to be rapidly changed on the fly. Now, even the best teachers can be thrown by these things. Obviously the more time you have in the classroom, the more you realize these skills are something that you can practice. But, a tool that makes this something that makes it just a little bit easier is something that we have been kind of working on building for a long time, and that's where this fits in. So I'm going to head into the PE Games app and the AI game generator. I'm going to put in this context and see what we come up with. So they wanted to do an invasion games unit. Well, not wanted to, that's what they were in the middle of. So I'm going to say for game or topic, which is the first item on the form, I'm going to say invasion games unit, which is what, they were focusing on. I'm going to say year 5 for the age group. That way we get appropriate kind of activities and so on recommended for the group. For the environment, it's not the indoor gym this time, it is a classroom. And for equipment, we've got none. We're going to leave it at that. The scenario here is that the students don't have any equipment because it was left in the cupboard of the teaching space and they can't get to it. So I'm going to hit generate games and see what we come up with. Now, like any tool or any game that a teacher looks at, they should, filter and adapt and find the ones that match them. The app will generate 5 games. And obviously, it's not about doing all 5. It's about giving you some inspiration and taking it from there. Now, it's returned 5 games. The first one is called Territory Takeover. Divide the classroom into zones. 2 teams try and pass a softball through opponent's zone, or not a softball, but any kind of object to the end line, avoiding defenders. Players must stay in their assigned zones and can only move laterally or forward. Cone Gate Challenge. Set up multiple cone gates. Teams dribble or push a softball through the opponent's gates. Progressive Possession. Similar idea. Target Zone Attack and Line Breakup. In line breakout, students arrange students into 3 parallel lines: attackers, defenders, and supporters. Attackers must break through the defender line while supporters move into space. So we've got 5 ideas there. We can obviously, use those, adapt those, but we're not starting with just a mental blank of, oh my, what am I going to do? How do I keep the lesson as an invasion game activity in the space that I've got? And that's where this shines, obviously, giving that kind of on the spot extra bit of brain power that you can lean into. Now, in our second example, it's the kind of scenario that I see commonly too. It's where someone, maybe not even a PE teacher, is thrust into a PE classroom and they're a relief teacher, or maybe they just are a PE teacher, but they're not that familiar with the activity that they're now taking, and they're looking for support and guidance. I'm going to go with the relief teacher angle here, and in this particular scenario, they were in a throwing and catching unit. They were the relief teacher. They needed some throwing and catching activities so that they could run that confidently, but it was simple and, not too daunting, something requiring them to just be able to get straight into it. So again, I'm going to open the AI game generator and I'm going to put in that context. So it's a throwing and catching kind of theme, topic or skill is throwing and catching. The year group of this one was year 3 and 4. And they actually had the school hall as their kind of space. And for equipment, they had beanbags, hoops, and some cones. Now I'm going to hit generate. Now, obviously, the premise here was different to that last one. They've got a bit of planning time here, so they can obviously adapt and modify. But the activities that have come up here is the hoop target toss, setting up 5 hoops scattered around the hall at different distances. Students stand behind a cone and take turns throwing beanbags into them. So that's one of the activities. Cone knockdown challenge, arranging cones and knocking them down with beanbags and getting different points allocated. A hoop relay, target zone, so using hoops as target zones, arranged in a circle. Students mark throwing different positions at different distances and earn different points. Or cone guard catch. Students set up cones in scatter positions around the hall. Students pair up, one throws a beanbag and the other catches it, and then they move around in a figure 8 pattern, switching roles and places and so on. So simple activity of some games that reference that throwing and catching for that age group with the available equipment. If you had different equipment, then different games would have been made possible. Now, in our third and final question, it was along the theme of the kind of stale warm-up activity. You've always done the same things, same activities. You want to do something different. In this scenario, it was, you need an activity that raises the heart rate, prepares them for their striking and fielding lesson. But you just didn't want to do the normal kind of things. So, what would that look like? We've got an outdoor space and we've got cones. So again, we're going to head into the AI game generator, and it is a warm-up to get the heart rate flowing. Taking this exactly from their context. This was a year 6 kind of group, so 11 to 12 years. They actually had an indoor gymnasium. and the equipment they had was cones. And I'm going to say generate games. And obviously this was just give us some inspiration. That was the kind of main theme here. And it's come back with a cone chase relay. So like a relay game with games, a relay game with cones rather. Cone hop circuit, arrange cones in a large circuit. Students move around them using different locomotion styles, change locomotions, etc. Treasure hunt dash, scatter cones randomly, assign each cone a number or marker, call out cone numbers, and students race to sprint to that cone. Vary it up, make it more difficult. Cone tag zones, create small square zones using cones. Students must run between zones, staying outside of them. Tag students become the new taggers. And then a shuttle run cone challenge. So that's the 5 games that it generated. One of those, maybe that's the new warm-up for this person in their space. So that's the idea here. Like, obviously, in this kind of context of the PE Games app, you've got 250 games that you can look at that are just already ready to go inside the app when you open it. But we know that PE isn't as simple as that. You get thrust into different contexts all the time. Sometimes you're needing new inspiration. Sometimes you're not sure about an activity. You need a little bit of advice or guidance. And for me, that would be certain sports or activities that I've taught in the past where I'm just not as sure as others. Like, what could I do here? Well, the PE Games generator could certainly help there. And then the first one, well, you are in a kind of like a mini emergency. You haven't got what the plan said was possible. You're in a new space. The equipment is not there, or whatever other disaster has taken place, and you need to adapt quick. And you don't have all the available facilities on hand. So whatever scenario you find yourself in, the PE Games app, and in particular the AI Games generator inside of the app, is there as your kind of companion, so that you always feel supported and able to support yourself with whatever you need. And that's the exciting thing about the tools of today. 10 years ago, that type of tool wasn't possible. And the PE Games app existed 10 years ago, but what it was a collection of just, here are some of my favorite games that we've played over the years. Maybe one of them works for you, maybe it doesn't. And that's the problem. It wasn't customizable. You could find something, you could get some great activities, but that was it. Nowadays, we can do so much more, and the tech supports that. So building experiences, building tools that get closer to your goals, make it easier for you to do things, is really important to us. And that's kind of the catalyst for us to go, you know what, we've got these tools, we've got these amazing things possible now. Let's make sure that people know about them. So if you are finding yourself in any of those scenarios, or you just want some new games or ideas and just to have a great resource on hand, go and check out PE Games on iPhone, iPad, and Android. You can download it for free, start a free trial, check it out, see how it works for you. And we're always modifying and adapting it to suit. Anyway, that is the end of this episode of the PE Geek podcast. Hopefully it's been useful to you. If you've got any questions, feel free to let me know on the websites. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.